Thank you everyone for attending first off. I only heard about this initiative a couple of weeks ago and I must say I'm really impressed, and I love the fact that so many of you have turned up. And I love the fact that the Social Justice Society have decided to make this a key part of what they're doing. We are Better Communities Bradford. We're a charity that's been around for about 5 years. We started on our first year, our income was about 10,000. Now we're on about 250,000 a year. We're going in the right direction. The hope is to kind of double that over the next year or two. Our mission statement includes a number of things, but this is what's relevant to today. We're dedicated to the empowerment of women, especially from ethnic minorities, by expanding their access to vital resources and opportunities. Now, it's geared towards women from ethnic minorities because that's the community we live in. We have never turned away a single woman from our services. Eastern European, white British, African descent, South Asian is the demographic that live around us. About 8,000 households, they're the primary people we tend to serve. This year has been a bit of a growth year for us. We've got some press, BBC News, Guardian, Telegraph and Argus Charity Today. So our profile is increasing and the impact we're making is kind of growing as well. I have this habit of moving around. If that becomes a problem, let me know. I have a habit of picking on people and asking for their opinions on things. If that's a problem, tough. Oh, fantastic. Come in, guys. Closer to the front, the better. That's just our promotional poster we put together for this. Right, who am I? My name's Abbas Najib. I'm a magistrate serving with the West Yorkshire Bench. I serve out of Bradford Magistrates Court. I'm the Mental Health Programme Director and Chief Executive of Better Communities Bradford. I'm a psychotherapist by profession. Previously, I've worked as a police officer for about 5 years, and then as a criminal defence lawyer for about 5 years. So for the triangle of the criminal defence system, criminal procedures, I've kind of done all three. Right. In regards to what we're talking about today, gender-based violence, can anyone tell me what that number is relevant to? 3 women in the UK are killed every week. What's that number? 9 men in the UK are killed every week. What's that number? The perpetrators are almost exclusively men. High injury, violence is almost exclusively a male problem. There's increasing chatter online, well, women hit men too. Oh, well, she can be controlling too. Don't let it fool you. High frequency, high injury violence is almost exclusively a male problem. Yes, some lady might give her boyfriend a slap on the back of the head if she catches him flirting with someone. I'm not saying those things that don't happen, but when it comes to the serious stuff, almost exclusively, and that's the lower estimate, 93% is the lower estimate, by the way. It goes all the way up to 97% in some estimations. Perpetrators, 6 to 8% of the male population are likely to be involved in frequent violence towards women. One of the things we get when we do workshops, research, and group therapy is not all men. And we need to be quite clever with the language we use here, and we need to be a little bit careful with it. It's true, it's not all men, but it's a minority of men, and the perpetrators are almost always men. And we need to capture that right, because what we don't want is to get a significant portion of the male population with their backs up, saying, it's not me, it's not all men. But the perpetrators of this violence are men. We've talked about some of the causes of violence, high frequency, high injury violence. And yes, there are things around poverty and stuff like that, and we're going to talk about that. It's quite a short one, this one, by the way. In our experience, we have a team of psychotherapists working with us. I've been dealing in domestic violence for about 20 years of my professional life now, as a cop, as a lawyer, magistrate, now as a psychotherapist. It's a little bit darker, I think, we think. People often blame things like poverty, stress, etc. Frequent violence towards women often comes from a much darker place. An example is power and control, and the fear of losing that power and control. One of the most dangerous times for a woman who is being domestically abused is when she speaks up for herself. The reaction, the visceral reaction that will produce in the abuser is extremely dangerous, because he will fear losing the control that he's had for however long. There is a certain pleasure repeat abusers gain from abusing their victim. Call it psychopathy, call it some kind of neurosis, call it narcissism. Whatever the underlying diagnosis is, there is a certain amount of pleasure that comes from controlling other people for these abusers. That's a big driver of why they do it, and they can get away with it. Our justice system, by definition and often by necessity, is adversarial. You need to prove to a very high degree someone's guilt before you can punish them. In a locked bedroom, in a closed house, when you smack her about, there's no evidence. Yes, the family courts are doing much better in reducing that threshold of evidence down to the balance of probabilities. But when it comes to the criminal justice system, it's still beyond reasonable doubt. And there is an element of this. Learned behavior, as was discussed earlier. If you grow up thinking it's normal, it's part of what is a loving relationship, people, men, when they grow up, they think it's okay to do that. There is an element of that. The majority of people who are hurt themselves growing up, when they're exposed to this kind of violence, aren't perpetrators. So we have to be very careful not to stigmatize children who have been victims of domestic violence and grown up in such households, that they themselves are not necessarily perpetrators. In fact, the majority are not. This question, so offensive. Why don't you just leave? The question should be, what's forcing her to stay? Because there are very real barriers to exit a domestically violent relationship. I'm going to talk about some of the usual suspects, let's say. Religion gets a bad name. Got some Muslims here. We deal mainly with Muslims. So I'm going to come at this from a point I know about. Some of the main teachings around women and Islam. Paradise is at the feet of your mother. Daughter is the gateway to paradise for the father. The best of you is the one who is best to his wife. Treat your women with equity and kindness. Those who are versed in Islamic literature will know these are very popular, well-known teachings. If anyone ever tries to tell you it's allowed in Islam, if it's allowed in religion, absolutely not. They're playing a con on you. They're having you on. And if they can recite the odd verse to try to misinterpret it, then they know what they're doing. This doesn't come from a place of ignorance. They know exactly what they're doing. Culture and society. What will people say? Not as much of a problem as it used to be. I got involved in this world about 20 odd years ago. It was a problem then. Family honor, mum and dad are gonna feel embarrassed. Far less of a problem now. There are other problems culturally. One of the ones we came across was embarrassment. That was a big one. I won't be able to keep my man. I'm never gonna find anyone else again. The kids need a father. Those reasons, it's not on there. We did a research study with 100 women who had been victims of repeat violence. When I say repeat, it's 2 or more. Okay, so not an isolated incident. Those were more prevalent as reasons as to why women couldn't leave on a cultural level. The family honor thing, far less than it was 20 years ago. Still there, far less. The reasons that are more prolific, that are more present. She's got no bloody money. How's she going to take care of herself? How's she going to take care of her kids? She doesn't speak the language. We work with a lot of South Asian women. If you don't speak the language, support out there is incredibly difficult to get hold of. It's one of the reasons we do what we do. We have a zero barrier to entry policy. If you need a taxi to come to your session, we'll pay for a taxi. If you need a mobile phone, we'll buy you a mobile phone. If you need free therapy, we'll give you free therapy. If you need us to lie to your extended family as to why you're attending, we'll lie for you. We have people coming into our sessions saying they've come into our sewing classes. They're actually coming to group therapy or counselling. We have a hand-holding provision. So we don't signpost, we handhold all the way through to the process, whether it's going to police station appointments with them, lawyers' appointments with them. We work quite closely with Switalski solicitors. So there's a lot of support. And one thing we've learned is language is a massive barrier, along with finances. And then there's fear. Fear around prosecution. What will he do to me? What are the chances of him being convicted? The police have told me They can investigate after the incident. They're not bodyguards. I have seen this myself when I was in the police. We can investigate after. Earlier it was mentioned about how seriously the police take these cases, or sometimes not. There is a phrase in the police, bin it off. If there's a way to get rid of a complaint, you try to get rid of it because they're overworked, they're understaffed. Binning it off is a very common thing with violence against women, especially when the woman is reluctant to report the issue, go through with the issue, give repeat statements, maybe attend court. It can be very daunting. And then there's love. Speak to most people, most women. They don't want to leave him. They just want the abuse to stop. Everyone in this room has been, will be, at some point or another, likely in some kind of loving romantic relationship. It's something we all look for. Let's not underestimate how powerful that is in making women stay in abusive relationships. They don't want to hurt him. They don't want to harm him. They don't want to lose him. But the sad truth is, based on all experience and so much literature, abusers tend not to change. There are some psychotherapeutic interventions that can affect behavior to a degree, but without external interventions, abusers tend to keep abusing. Another one, mixed reactions on this one. Boyfriend, girlfriend arguing. I'm going to pick on someone here. It's random, so don't take it personally. Boyfriend, girlfriend arguing. Police officer can see him arguing. Voices are starting to raise. He's on his knees begging for forgiveness, and she's crying, and she slaps him on the back of the head. Criminal offence. Who thinks that's a criminal offence? Yes, it is. It's a Section 39 assault. What's the duty of the police officer in that situation? This is a real example, by the way. He's seen it. He's seen what's happened. He has to make an arrest. What do you think happened to the lady? Arrested. Very quiet. Go on. Yep. Interviewed. Confessed. Convicted of a Section 39 assault. Lost her job because she was working with vulnerable women. Who here thinks that's fair? I don't. Yep. That kind of absolute zero tolerance, let's call it, has actually proven to be a barrier to reporting early abuse. That particular situation, she caught him flirting with someone over text. She was crying her eyes out, we were begging for her forgiveness. She gave him a slap at the back of the head. Probably had it coming. She was charged, convicted, incredibly difficult. The household lost an income. Reverse that. He slaps her for the first time. She knows that this is what happens. If he gets convicted, we lose the salary, he can't get a job again. That kind of zero tolerance to a large degree is proving to be a barrier to reporting domestic violence. I don't know what the solution is. Maybe it not being shown on the DBS for the one incident, I don't know. But research suggests early intervention, early reporting usually stops things far more successfully than if they've been going on for a while. So to tackle some of these barriers to exit, why women are forced to stay, this is what we do. A bit of self-promotion here. Therapy. We've got a team of psychotherapists. Some specialize in cognitive behavioral therapy. Some specialize in domestic violence. Most of them are women. They provide one-on-one therapy, group therapy, and very often the victim will ask for a male therapist. So we have some male therapists. The reason for that is they say we sometimes feel judged by women. I don't know if that's an internal feeling. I don't know if women are more judgmental. But to accommodate the needs of the client, we'll actually provide whatever gender of therapist they want. We provide English classes, TEFL, ESOL. We'll pay for their tests. We'll pay for their courses. We have had, I think, 11 women become qualified teaching assistants, stroke teachers on the lower level, going from having absolutely no qualifications, going through our courses. We pay for everything. When we run out of money, we run out of money. And that's the kind of approach we've taken with the funders. Our funders are the Henry Smith Charity, National Lottery Community Fund. We provide employment support, usual stuff, help with CVs, help with interview preparation. Financial independence, as discussed earlier, is a big one. If a woman thinks, I can manage financially, that's a massive barrier that's been removed from her to escape a violent situation. Sewing classes, Islamophobia workshops, that's something we do. Our next drive over the next couple of years is to try to address some of the massive spikes in Islamophobia. Quite early in that, we've done some talks around the country, but that's a little bit early. That's who we are, that's some of our contact details. Thank you for your attention. Questions? Thank you.